how to assess customer needs would take a month all by itself. While we don't have time for that, we do have time to give you an overview of what that process might look like. We'll focus predominantly on gathering and interpreting customer needs. Hi, my name's David Monkton, Lecturer Agribusiness at the University of Tasmania. I've prepared this lecture with material supplied by Dr. Greg Clydesdale, Senior Lecturer, University of Lincoln, New Zealand. First, let's get to some definitions. A customer need is a gap between where they are and where they want to be. When you go into the process of purchasing anything, you're trying to fill that gap. Another way to think about it is that you're trying to solve a problem. When we go to the grocery store, we may be looking to prevent the problem of being hungry, or we may be solving the problem of wanting to impress our spouse. Maybe it's just that we're bored and want to experiment with something new. Right now, this is where our focus is, on understanding a full range of customer needs, because from that broad understanding, we may get those clues that point us in the direction of where we might innovate. Like with many of these steps, cast a wide net first. Later, we'll match our understanding of what the customer needs with what our product needs to do to meet those needs. For now, though, we want to understand those needs as fully as possible. So what kind of data might we collect? If we get information that some other organisation gathered for their own purpose, that is secondary data. For example, when Choice runs a national survey of 1,000 grocery shoppers, asking them about their perceptions, experiences and buying behaviour around fresh fruit and veg, that's secondary data. If you were to run a survey to answer questions that you had, that would be primary research. The caution here is that everyone thinks that they can design a good survey that gives them useful insights into what a target might want. Not always the case. If there is a risk of garbage in and gospel coming out, it can be better to work with data that someone else has gathered rather than getting your own. Qualitative data is the types that you might gather if you sat down and interviewed 6 produce managers to see what types of problems with packaging they might experience in their work life. Quantitative data is, as you can imagine, numbers-based. The Australian Horticultural Statistics Handbook would be an example of this. For any data, it's good to get multiple sources to see if they all point you in the same direction, or whether there are conflicts that you might need to explore before going further. Once we have our raw data, we have to make sense of what it means. This gets back to our purpose. Innovating implies that we're doing something that no one else is doing, or we're doing it in a different way. If we only ask questions of potential users, they can only give us answers from their own experience, and that experience is likely to be with products on the market now. This might make it harder to move beyond incrementalism and get to the truly innovative idea. But if we gather a huge range of information on what our customers might need, we can find new angles on what could be done better. For example, let's say you find a report that identifies the issues listed on the left as current trends. That's great, but what do they mean? What are the implications? In writing customer needs statements, we're exploring possible goals for the innovation. We want to express the need in terms of what the product has to do, not in terms of how it might do it. In our example, reading a trend that a sense of community has greater influence on levels of happiness than more money may imply that whatever your innovation is, it may have a goal of being an experience to share with others. Based on the finding that nostalgia is a predominant feeling in certain target markets, you could identify the need as the product being associated with ways the target enjoyed food when they were a teenager. Let's say you were interested in innovating in a way to improve the lives of people as they were aging. You may find statistical data that shows you that the aging of the population is a global trend, and other data that explains what are some of the characteristics of this group. But what might it mean for the innovations that could connect with them? Here are some examples of ways that we might translate trends identified in secondary data into the voice of the customer. That might be reflected in what we design. As you can imagine, gathering and interpreting the data is only a start. As you go, you would organise what you find into related clusters of information and try to discover which needs out of all you found are the most important. That doesn't mean that your innovation must focus on those needs. Perhaps other products are already operating in that space. What it does mean is that when you reflect on all you've gathered and what you think it means, you're getting ready to help consumers solve a problem or meet a need in a way no one else has done. Thank you.